Hi, welcome back to my next video. Here we're going to be talking about transitions. We need transitions sometimes in a screenplay to tell the reader or the director how we get from one scene to the next. We don't always need them, but sometimes. Now, you've already learned about slug lines, how to write the action of a scene, the dialogue. So right about now, you should know how to write a scene, write one scene. I've given you the knowledge already in the previous videos, so you should have that. Now, when you want to go on to the next scene, normally you can just, hit enter after the last action line, and then type interior or exterior, car, let's say, day, I don't know. Okay, that would be the next scene. And you wouldn't have to use a transition here because the new slug line already tells the director that it's a new scene, so you don't have to transition in any way. It just cuts to the next scene when it's edited. However, sometimes you have to use the transitional language to tell the editor and tell the director how it's going to be cut from one scene to the next. Because sometimes there's a special way that you might want to do it in order to enhance the quality of the film, and I'm going to get into that more now. Okay, so let's delete this. Alright, first of all, to get to the transitional, you would, press enter to go to the new line. Now, if you hit tab, it's not going to go to where you want it. It's just going to go to the dialogue area in the middle because that's what we used last. So what you'll have to do is go back, hit enter again. Now go up here, and this is another way to select elements. If you wanted to get to the dialogue area, you could just select dialogue to get right to the middle, or we don't want to do that. But what we want to do here is transition. And now it brings the cursor to the right side. This right margin here is where the transitional language will be typed. And now there's all kinds of languages here, and they're all pre-programmed into Final Draft. And to bring up the different phrases you can use, or that's acceptable, in screenwriting, you hit spacebar, and now the Smart Type thing gives you all of these different options for transitions. These are the basic transitions of screenwriting. It is missing a few, like Flashback, but these are the common ones. Now, cut to, you don't use it very often. Basically, cut to is when you want to cut to a scene immediately following the previous scene. Like, let's say you have a scene where somebody goes to sleep at night, and then the next scene it's morning. Obviously, you don't want to cut to there because there's time that's passed in between the scenes. But let's say there's like an action film that you're writing, and there's one scene where somebody's jumping off the roof of a building, and then the next scene you want him falling to the ground. Well, then you would cut to him falling. You see what I mean? There's all kinds of things you can do. Like another example is, let's say people are talking in the car. Their interior. Here, I'll do an example here. Interior car day. Now this isn't going to be. This isn't going to coincide with what I wrote here, so bear with me. It's just a whole new scene altogether. I'll say Marcus drives the car. Of course, in this scene, he was a teenager. I know. I'm just trying to do this as an example. Marcus drives the car. He talks to Mr. Phillips, and then we could put something like cut to, and then let's see, exterior liquor store day. Marcus crashes into the store. See what happens here. Marcus drives the car. He talks to well, you wouldn't do talks to because you'd actually use dialogue. So we'd say he looks at Mr. Phillips. Yeah, because he looks away from the windshield and cut to Marcus crashes into the store. So what we have here is one scene. He drives the car. He looks at Mr. Phillips, so he's not looking in front of the car, and then cut to this new scene where Marcus crashes into the store. So this is telling the director that this is happening in sequence, one after the other. This immediately goes to this. There's no time that's elapsed in between here. It goes right from this to this. That's what cut to is. It goes from one scene to another within a second. One after the other. Alright, now let's go back. Let's get this dialogue back again. And the reason I'm able to tab right is because I wasn't typing dialogue anymore. Once you start a new slug line and a new action description, you don't have to worry about it getting stuck in the middle. You can just hit tab twice. I'll do it again. Hold on. Tab, and it goes right to this side. But if for some reason it doesn't go all the way right, then just go up here and just use the transition. Okay, now hit space again to see all the options. Okay, let's go down. Fade in. Well, we know what fade in is. That's what we started our script with. I typed it in manually, but you could have used. Well, you don't put it on the right side though. Some people do. You could put fade in on the right margin. From what I've seen in the screenplays I've read, the producers in Hollywood and wherever else, they want fade in on the left side. It's not like a set rule, but it's better to put it on the left side, I think. Now, fade out, that can go on the right side. This is what you put when you want to end the script. So basically, I would just hit tab when that's highlighted, and there you go, fade out. And then I would write the end, the end. Enter. That's how I end most of my scripts. Of course, this is a very short script because fade in is right here, and then fade out is here. But again, I put fade in on the left side. This is primarily how you're supposed to do it, I think. So you don't put fade in on the right side, but you put fade out on the right side. And then you can put the end wherever you want, on the left side, in the middle, or even on the right side. I like to put it on the left side. Okay. Let's go back. Let's try another one. Fade to, or dissolve to. Now, this is a way to, it's just a way you transition from one scene to the next. Like, fade to is, maybe you want to fade to a scene after a certain amount of time has passed. It's just a special effect for the edit. It fades to a new scene. There's one scene after the last bit of action that happens in the scene. Then you can have it fade to a new scene. So fade to, let's say, drives a car. He looks at fade to. Maybe we could have it where, I don't know. Yeah, let's say, actually I have a better idea. Let's do cut to, let's do what I used before, the liquor store day. Marcus crashes into the store, and people scream. And then we can have, now I don't put cut to here because you don't have to. You just put Marcus sits unconscious. And then maybe fade to hospital room. Marcus lies in the hospital bed. Okay, so what this is, fade to, is, you don't have to use this. it might be like a dramatic way to get from one scene to the next. Usually fade to has some time that's elapsed in between, like, okay, he's unconscious in the car, so now it fades to the hospital room where he's lying in bed. So that's like telling the director, okay, he's hurt in the car, so now he's in the hospital room. That's why it fades to the hospital room. It skips all the stuff in between where the paramedics take him in the ambulance and all that. It just fades to the scene where it shows the results of his actions from here. So you're fading to this, the new scene that shows him in bed since he crashed into the store. Now dissolve to, let me see. Dissolve. Well, let me just do it this way. Dissolve. I like to use dissolve when a lot of time has elapsed. Like, let's say Marcus was in a coma for 10 years. Now, for that, I would like to do dissolve. It's just a different edit effect. Again, it's not that important, so, the fade to and dissolve to aren't really super important. It just depends on the editing. That's all it matters for, but it's not crucial. So let's say dissolve to, okay, we'll put him back in the hospital where he's been in a coma, so we'll say day, Marcus lies in the hospital, I'll say lies in the bed. Oh yeah, you know what we'll do? We'll put, superimpose, or sorry, we'll just do super, 10 years later. What this is, super means superimpose. It means text that's going to go over the film. Like, you know how you see if something happens to a character and then it's like years later in the next shot or the next scene, you'll see the text on the bottom of the screen that says, 5 years later, 10 years later. Well, to put that in the film, you write super, colon, and then whatever you want the text to say, 10 years later. It's kind of like subtitles, but it's telling the audience, how much time has gone by, or it could also tell them the location. Like, let's say he's in a hospital room in Rome, in Italy, so you put Rome, Italy. If you want to indicate a new location. I mean, you can do all sorts of things with superimpose. You could even put scenes on top of scenes with superimpose. But that's a much more advanced thing you don't have to worry about. Okay. Dissolve to, so that means a lot more time has elapsed. Okay, now let's go to back to. Back to, I like to use this in certain situations. Usually there's two situations. One is flashback scenes. A flashback scene, now this isn't put in this list. You don't see flashback here, but it's also a transition that you can use, flashback. This is when the character remembers something from the past. So it's something that happened before what's happening now. Pretty self-explanatory. And then you just put the scenes. Maybe Marcus is in school. Marcus sits in the hallway with his book bag. Two bullies walk by and punch Marcus, walk by and kick Marcus in the face. Marcus falls bleeding to the ground. Alright, so this is a memory that Marcus could be having, because, okay, he's unconscious in the car, so flashback, or you could put flashback scene, that's okay too. And then this is, everything after flashback scene is what his flashback is, or what the flashback is in the story, or in the movie. So this is the flashback scene, and I could write more scenes if I want to. But let's say I want to get out of the flashback area. Well, what I'll do is I'll go to back to, hit enter, and now everything after back to is the present time. This takes us out of the flashback. This set up the flashback, and then everything after that gave us the flashback scenes, and now this back to takes us out of the flashback. And now we're in the normal scenes again in the present time. See? Back, flashback, back to. There always has to be a back to succeeding the flashback scene somewhere. Okay, and like I said, there's another way to use back to. Now this one might work for, or this one will work for an action film that's like an action scene, I should say, where there's a series of action, fighting scenes. Let's just say, let's see, Marcus sits unconscious. We put series of shots. Now this is going to describe a whole bunch of different shots that are taking place one after the other. It's like a montage of action, basically. Like, let's say there's a big fight scene. In fact, let me add it to this part here. People scream. Let's say a bald man punches a woman. A police officer. I mean, I don't know why this would be what follows this. I'm just doing this as an example again. A bald man punches a woman. A police officer tasers. Maybe I spelled taser wrong, or they don't recognize the word. I'll put a police officer shocks a homeless man. And now I set up a series of shots. And now what this is, like if you're writing an action film and you want like a montage, let's say it's like an ancient fight where people are fighting with swords, it took place 1,000 years ago, and you want a bunch of shots where people are getting stabbed with swords, people are blocking sword attacks with their shields, all kinds of things like that. Now, it's kind of hard to describe that in an action description under the slug line. It's better to use a series of shots if you're going to have a lot of different action sequences in one scene. So you'll write series of shots, and you'll write this on the left side. You won't write it on the right side. And then you'll put A, because you're going to be listing the different shots that you want in this series. So we'll say Marcus slashes a man with a sword. 5 police officers tackle a woman. I mean, this is totally ridiculous content, but I'm just doing this to show you what a series of shots is. Let's see what else. I don't know. A football player. And this would be a weird movie if this was made. A football player punches the police. The police captain. I can't type. All right, now let's say. Okay, so what this would do is this would show one scene after another. Instead of having to write slug lines for every single one, or describing it in detail here, you would just put Marcus slashes a man with a sword. And then it would cut right to 5 police officers tackle a woman, a football player punches the police captain, and then you would do back to, like that. Some people put it on this side, but I like to put back to on this side after I have a series of shots. That's okay too. Okay. I hope you understood that. Basically, a series of shots is for action, and for a lot of scenes, or a lot of action sequences taking place in the same scene quickly. If they were taking place in different scenes, you'd do cut-tos. But since the sequences are taking place in the same scene, you would do series of shots. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me get a drink of water here. Hold on. Now, where are we? Okay, now we're at match cut. Match cut is not going to be used as often, just like jump cut to. Match cut, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, I'm sure you've seen the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's a scene where, in the Neanderthal period, in the beginning of the movie, how they show human beings as like Neanderthals, the early mankind, and how the Neanderthals, developed intelligence. And there's the very last shot in that scene is where one of the humans or Neanderthal people, they throw up like a femur bone in the air, and then the very next cut is of a spaceship that is shaped like the femur bone. That is a match cut. It basically tells the director that you want a different scene in a different place with the same shaped object. So, like, a police officer shocks a homeless man. Say Mr. Phillips throws a bone into the air. Then match cut to outer space. A spaceship flies through space. Or let's say a spaceship flies over the moon. Okay, so what this is telling us is, okay, Mr. Phillips throws a bone into the air, match cut to a spaceship flies over the moon. So this is saying that the bone is going to resemble the spaceship because they're both long and this cylindrical. That's basically it. The graphic, it's the same shape graphic, but a different graphic in a different location, but the same shape. That's what match cut to means. So as you can see, it's not going to be used that often, if at all. Most screenwriters never use it unless they're trying to, match the graphic, make something look like something else in the next scene. That's the only way they'll use it. Okay. Let's go to. Hold on. Now the next one, jump cut to. Hold on, let me get a drink of water. Alright, jump cuts. Before I talk about this, I think it's important to note that when you use transitional language, directors are really picky about it. Yeah, they don't like you to use it. They don't even like cut tos. So I always try to limit how many transitional words I use in my script. Flashbacks and stuff like that are okay, but when it involves cuts, that's when they get really picky, because you're basically telling the director how to direct and how to edit. And they don't like that. They want to do it their way. So you have to be very careful how much you use these cut tos and jump cut tos, especially jump cut to. In fact, this one is barely even used anymore, just like the match cut to. But I will talk about jump cut to, just so you know what it is. Now, it basically involves a little bit of time that's elapsed in between two particular action scenes, or two particular action sequences of the same scene, I should say. Now, let's delete all this nonsense. Crashes into the store. People scream. They run away in a panic. Okay, let's say we use jump cut to. Exterior liquid liquor store. What I like to do, if I'm going to use the same scene one after the other, the exact same scene, exterior liquor store, I'm going to put later. You can do that. That's okay, instead of day, because it's just a continuation of this. Or you can just put continuous here. That's okay too. I like to put later, but we're putting jump cut to, and then Marcus walks away from the car. So that's saying, okay, here Marcus crashes into the store. People scream. They run away in a panic. jump cut to, Marcus walks away from the car. So there's a little bit of time here from when Marcus crashed to when he walks away. Obviously, he must have gotten out of the car, brushed himself off, and then started walking. Those little scenes aren't involved in this. They were taken out because we jump cut right to him walking away. You know, this could be used to just surprise the audience or just to get them feeling suspense about what's going on. You know, he crashes and then people scream and then it jumps right to him walking away. So obviously he got out of the car and you know, cleaned himself off, but we didn't see that. It just jumped to him walking away. That's all that is. So like where cut to is what happens right after the scene. You know, this happens and then it cuts to what happens right after it, which is this. That's what cut to is. It happens right after this scene, so it cuts to this. But jump cut to is it doesn't happen right away, but a little bit of time has elapsed, and then this happens right after this. So let's go over that one more time. Marcus drives the car. He looks at Mr. Phillips. Cut to, you know, immediately after, it cuts to him crashing, because this is what happens right after this. He crashes into the store. People scream, they run away in a panic, and then jump cut to, it could be a few minutes later, Marcus walks away from the car. Okay? Now, let's see if we left out any. Fade to black. This is another way of saying fade out. Some filmmakers like to use fade to black, meaning like it's fading just to a black screen, and then that's it. That's the end. That you can use that too. I like to use fade out. Either one should be fine, and then you do the end, of course. And there you go. Of course, yeah, you know, fade out, fade to black. Those are acceptable transitions for everyone. Fade in, that's important, but that goes on the left side. And then all the other transitions we talked about, you know, use them cautiously. You know, dissolve is okay to use once in a while if a lot of time has elapsed. Back twos are important. You'll use those a lot if you're doing a lot of flashbacks or series of shots, sequences. Match cut to and jump cut to you'll likely never use. I wouldn't even recommend using them ever. Directors just do not like that. And flashback. The reason why flashback is here now is because I used it. In Final Draft 8, it doesn't come pre-programmed into it. Maybe Final Draft 9 has flashback, I don't know. But this didn't. But after I used flashback, it remembered it and got programmed into this. So that's why that happened. Alright, so that is transitions. This is a rather long video, but it was important to cover all that because a lot of people have confusion about transitions. You don't even use them that much, but you do have to use them in certain situations. Hopefully you understand how to use them now. I'll see you on the next video.